Jeff, I will go over you a couple fights in April. Pretty good month, some good fighters. Nonito Donaire, faced Guillermo Rigondeaux April 13th. How do you break down that match?
That's a very good fight. That's like a pick-up fight. Of course, I think more people think that Donaire is going to just smash him, and I don't see that because Rigondeaux is a very good puncher and he got power too. So I think that he can catch if he can catch Donaire just putting pressure on him and not respecting his power, he probably get knocked out too.
Now Donaire, some people have him as third pound for pound. In my talks with you, you maybe have not been quite sold on him yet. I mean, what's your overall assessment of Donaire and where he stands in today's game?
Well, I think Donaire is a very good fighter. I don't know exactly where I would put him in pound for pound list because I don't really care about that anyway. Right. Fighters are fighters. If you like them, you like them. If you like them, you're gonna put them there on the list. If you don't really care for them too much, you're not. But I think that Donaire is a very good fighter, and I think that he's getting more praise than maybe he deserves because of the fact that he's in Pacquiao's shoes. He's the next guy in line. So, that keeps Filipino boxing alive.
Okay.
So that I think it's more that than anything else.
Okay. Now, April 20th, Saul Alvarez is facing Austin Trout, San Antonio, Texas, junior middleweight kind of unification. What do you think of that match?
That's also a very good matchup, and skill-wise, I lean toward Trout. Skill-wise, but not sure. Because one thing about boxing is still a business, and with it being a business, and with Canelo being able to, to basically fill the stadiums and things like that. I mean, it's one of those situations where I feel Trout, he probably won't get a fair shake. He'll probably have to win 8 out of 12 rounds to get a decision.
Now, Saul Alvarez and his people have said that, we have no business being on Floyd Mayweather's undercards anymore. He had been on a few of Floyd's undercards, the Ortiz and the Cotto undercard, because they felt like they didn't want to be on his undercard unless they knew for sure they're going to be facing him in September. Do you feel it's a good move for them to try to build more of the brand of Canelo without Floyd, or do you think that not being on that May 4th card will kind of hinder them?
Well, I don't necessarily know if it'll hinder him. I think the kid has a huge following, but at the end of the day, you're not going to handcuff Floyd to make a decision. When you're talking about you want a guarantee that you're going to fight whether you win or lose. That to me sounds like you don't have no confidence. Why don't you just go ahead and say that, if I win, it's a fight. But if you don't win, what's the point of the fight?
Okay. April 27th, Sergio Martinez is facing Martin Murray. What was your thoughts on Martinez's victory over Chavez? And at 38, how much fights does he have left, do you feel?
Well, I think that Martinez is one of the rare fighters. He's got a late start. And I think that, even right now, he's probably in his prime, even at his age, because the sport is still new to him, and people don't realize that, you base a career on probably maybe a 10 or 15-year span, and I don't know how long he's been boxing, but I know he hasn't been boxing, a very long time. So, this is still new to him. He's enjoying it, and he's on top of the world. So I think that, with that being said, I think he's, he's still like, I won't necessarily say he's in his prime, but he probably is pretty much close to being in his prime.
That same night, Zab Judah faces Danny Garcia in a fight that was rescheduled. Do you give Zab a good chance? What do you think?
Well, I'll give Zab a good chance because of the fact that I'm not 100% sold on Danny Garcia. I think that he's a very good fighter. Has good punching power in both hands. But at the same time, beating Eric Morales twice don't mean nothing to me. Eric Morales, was 40 years old. Not really, but you know what I mean. Yeah. He's over a fighter that was definitely over the hill. And then in the American fight, he was actually getting handed to him. But I mean, he ended up landing a big shot, and that changed anything. And everyone knows that Amir Khan Chin is very suspect. So it's one of those situations. So I mean, I'm not 100% sold on Garcia. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's good for the sport. I think that he can become one of the future stars of boxing. But I also think that in this fight, it all depends on what Zab shows up. Zab is one of those fighters. He's got 9 lives. And if the old Zab show up, Zab's got a chance. But the new Zab shows up, he's not gonna win.
Okay. We're here. The gym is packed again because Floyd Mayweather's training your nephew for his fight with Robert Guerrero. You've always said, hey, you think Floyd could stop Guerrero. After seeing Floyd in training for a few weeks, has your opinion changed? What are your thoughts on fight?
It hasn't changed at all. I mean, the guy that's in there, he's putting pressure on Floyd just like Guerrero. You see what he's getting, and he's about 180 pounds. So, I'm not impressed with Guerrero. I'm not impressed with him at all. I mean, he don't have no punching power. So what are you gonna do? It's different if he was a puncher and aggressive. I mean, being aggressive and not having power is sometimes ending disaster.
Okay, and you're working with Celestino Caballero again. How's it feel working with him? He's long layoff. Has the fight scheduled, I believe, April in Panama.
April 20th.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I'm glad to see Celestino back. I mean, it's a joy working with him, and I love to watch the guy when he's sparring. The angles he uses and things like that. I mean, he's the type of fighter that once he starts to work in the gym, I mean, the whole gym lights up because he's gonna do something that other fighters don't do. The weird angles, the payao and things like that. So I mean, it's good having him back, and of course, I mean, he fights, I eat.
All right. Thanks a lot, bro.